Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams back on the scene here on the Box on the Beltway Podcast Network. And the Box on the Beltway Podcast Network brought to you as always on Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio.com. We're on Podcast Addict, CastBox, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all throughout the podcast realm. You can hear the Box on the Beltway Podcast Network. And we took a little break this past week. As I told you in the last podcast, my time doing the podcast are going to be kind of limited from here to there. Hope I can get it in as best I can, but we're going to try to keep you updated as best we can as well. And later on in the podcast, I have some further conversation about that I'm going to share with you going forward. All right. But we do have some news to take care of. We do have a couple of very late results from the world of local boxing. Our first Beltway cards in more than a year, since February of 2020. They're our first two Beltway boxing cards. They happened on the same day, but in all honesty, it turned to be a pretty fortunate day because one was in the afternoon, one was in the evening. So it worked out very well after all. And they want to do it that way, do it that way. That's the best way to have both two cards on the same night. And we're going to talk also about two tributes to two men that really personally touched me. One has been was a part of my life pretty much for all of my life, and I'll talk about him as well. But one was actually very connected to the Beltway boxing scene in a very unique way. He was a very unique man. We'll talk about that as well. And again, I'll have some personal thoughts to talk about at the end of the podcast. Beltway Boxing Podcast Network brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. And Real Time Pain Relief, you go to freepainoffer.com, down $10 worth of Real Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real Time Pain Relief, now endorsed by two-time world heavyweight champion Big George Foreman. So try his knockout plan for Real Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. So we had a couple big cards this past week, a couple weeks ago actually, at the Michael & Son Sportsplex in Sterling, Virginia, as well as Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. And we have results from both of those. The results from the Sterling, Virginia card really just came in today. I actually had to contact and have to thank my good buddy, the matchmaker for that card, Brian Dillon, because their results weren't on BoxRec. I had to really call. So I have who won, who lost. Don't have updates on details on the time of the knockouts or what the scores were for the unanimous decision, but we do have results. So again, this is the Ponytail Promotions Chad Clifton card at the Michael & Son Sportsplex in Springfield in our Sterling, Virginia. Baltimore, Maryland lightweight Mac Pappy Allison IV. He won a 6-round unanimous decision over Philip Davis of Worcester, Massachusetts. Allison is now 12-3-1, 9 KOs, and be going back on track. Davis is 2-5-1. Baltimore middleweight Terrell Boyd, he scored a first-round TKO over Trevor Ollison of Hot Springs, Arkansas. Boyd is 3-0, all three of his wins by knockout. Ollison is 0-3-1. Manassas, Virginia, super welterweight Joan Planas, not to be confused with Yank Plana, but Joan Planas. He took a 4-round unanimous decision over the debuting Duria, like the actor Dan Duria Duggan of Atlanta, Georgia. Planas is 2-0, 1 KO. Debuting Salisbury, Maryland cruiserweight by way of Delaware, Thomas T.J. Mottinger. He won a 4-round majority decision over Calvin Menz of Leesburg, Virginia by way of Ghana. Menz is 2-1, 2 KOs. Mottinger again making his pro debut. Baltimore, Maryland heavyweight Malik Titus. He made a successful pro debut, and I wish I could have seen that because I really wanted to see that. And he put off a good win. He knocked out Nathaniel Juggernaut Copeland, actually stopped him in the third round. Copeland could not come out for the third round. And Copeland is 1-2, 1 KO, but a great debut for Malik Titus. And Kensington, Maryland, Brent Rodriguez, a native of the Philippines, he won his pro debut with a 4-round unanimous decision over the debuting Alonzo Sims Ampey Littlejohn. That is his name. From Kalamazoo, Michigan, he was also making his pro debut. And Miami, Florida heavyweight Ricardo Volkan scored a second-round TKO over Freeman Joshua of Manassas, Virginia. I think Volson, I think his name is, and I think he is actually transferred to this area. I think he's from this area, and he's fighting out of this area now. I have to double-check that, but his BoxRec profile says he's from Miami, Florida, so we'll keep it there for right now. So that was the card at the Michael and Son Sportsplex in Springfield, in Sterling, Virginia. Well, I want to say Springfield. Sterling, Virginia. Sterling, Virginia. Now, on Saturday afternoon at Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland, that was the Cy Nation Sports card, and that was a card headlined by Dominic Crowder, who's a super bantamweight from Baltimore, Maryland. He fought for the very first time in the Beltway. He won an 8-round unanimous decision over Rob Diesel of Seattle, Washington. All three judges scored a shutout, 80-72 for Crowder. He remains undefeated at 10-0 with 6 KOs. Diesel is 14-8, 4 KOs. Upper Marlboro female bantamweight Rihanna Rios. We've seen a couple of her interviews with Juan Marshall on Pro M Fight Talk. Very nice young lady. She won a 4-round majority decision over Unique Harris of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. One judge scored that bout 38-38, but his score was overruled by 2 scores of 40-36. Rios is now 2-0, while Harris is 1-4-1. A little bit of surprise in one of the bouts there. Waldorf, Maryland, welterweight Rashad Code Blue Kilpatrick. He lost by 3rd round TKO to Vashon Champion of Dayton, Ohio. The bout was stopped at 2:16 of the 3rd round. Kilpatrick suffers his first defeat as a pro. He's now 5-1, 2 KOs. And Champion is 2-0, 1 KO. DC Super Welterweight Victor Williams scored a 2nd round TKO over Angelo Thompson of Irvington, New Jersey. Williams stopped Thompson at 136. Williams is 3-0, 3 KOs. Thompson making his pro debut. And Hagerstown, Maryland Super Bantamweight Christopher Glenn won his pro debut with a 4-round majority decision over the equally debuting Cameron Ricks Holmes of Temple Hills, Maryland. That was an all Beltway boxing bout there, excuse me. So that is the card for both Michael and Son Sportsplex, the Ponytail Promotions Chad Clifton card, and the Cy Nation Sports card in the afternoon on Saturday, October 25th at Rosecroft Raceway. So that was a card there. Now, we do have some cards coming up in the near future. Saturday, October 23rd, Jetta Promotions returns to Live Casino in Hanover, Maryland. And that card there. And then also at the Entertainment Sports Arena in downtown D.C., Southeast D.C., excuse me. There'll be a card there on Friday, October 29th. So look forward to try to get those. I'm going to try to get to those cards. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm going to try to do that if I can. All right, so that is the update for that. We'll try to get the October schedule going a little bit later on. Now, a couple of tributes. One guy that I'm going to pay homage to was a gentleman who helped make the Beltway boxing scene really, really popular. Helped make it vibrant. He was a very, very interesting man. His name, Barrett Berry Lindy. Now, I've talked about the hardcore team. I did a podcast a while back about the hardcore group. And Barry Lindy was the manager of the hardcore. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But he was colorful. He added a lot of color to the scene, but he also was very humble. He was a self-made millionaire, born in Baltimore and raised in D.C., so he was true to the Beltway. He ended up graduating from Bullis School in Potomac, Maryland, a private school out in Potomac, Maryland, and he went to Harvard and the Wharton Business School. So he was definitely on top of his game, and he made his fortune. Again, he was a self-made millionaire, and he made his fortune by building houses in the Capitol Hill section of D.C. in the late 1950s, and he developed townhouses in Capitol Hill, Adams Morgan, and DuPont Circle, 3 very prominent neighborhoods here in Washington, D.C. And he had a style of building that ended up being called the Linda. It was very interesting. It was called the Linda. Very interesting. Now, when I met Barry Lindy, it was in 1990, and he started managing boxers, and he guided the boxers that would be known together as the hardcore. That was the Darryl Too Sweet Coley, Reggie Showtime Green, Ruben Ratman Bell, and Gary Rock Payne. And again, I've talked about the hardcore many times. I did a whole podcast devoted to them. It was a very unique time because you had all 4 of those guys at the time that Barry started managing them. They were all undefeated and all on the way up. They really were. They were all on their way up. Of course, Daryl and Reggie see really good success. Both got world title shots at some point and held regional titles. Ruben probably would have been that far behind, except he developed cancer and then he was killed. And then Gary Rock Payne actually kind of stopped boxing after 10 bouts. But at the time that everybody was there, and of course their trainers, Al Scott, Leonard Lang, and Vardell McCann, I mean, it was a tremendous time. It really was. And all through that time, talking to Barry, he was so humble. If you looked at him, you didn't. I guess when I met him, he passed away at the age of 86. So when I met him, he was about maybe in his mid 60s, and he didn't look it. He had an eternal tan, and he was just incredible to talk to, incredible to be around, and really a nice person. And he wanted the best for his boxers. I know Daryl Coley recently put out a post on Barry, and it made him so sad that Barry passed away. By the way, he passed away in June, but just announced this past week. But Daryl echoed what I just said. He looked out for the best in his boxers, looked out the best in Daryl. He was an outstanding man. He really was. He had the best promotional people involved with him. Broughton Winifred included a guy that is also going on to bigger and better things, and Fred Sternberg. He just finished his role as the PR person for Manny Pacquiao, who just announced his retirement. And it was just a great time, and he made it a great time. He was just so much fun to work with, and so much fun to be around, and I'm going to miss him. No question about that. He is actually interred in the Adas Israel Cemetery, which is in Southeast D.C. So, again, just a great person. Barry Lindy passed away back in June 23rd. His announcement was made just this past yesterday. As a matter of fact, you can record this, October 3rd. And we just found out about it. So really tough thing. I had wondered what happened to him. Apparently, he moved down to Miami, Florida, and resumed his home development business. So I had lost contact with him after his days in the boxing scene. So it was sad to hear that he had passed away. So really was a tough one. So again, big loss, but a wonderful man. Barry Lindy passed away at the age of 86. Now, the second tribute is even more personal, because the guy that I'm going to talk about now has been a part of my life for literally all of my life. He really, really was. This is probably the first year that he hadn't been a part of my life, in all honesty. Now, of course, when he passed away. His name was Billy Coward. Now, those of you who were in D.C., you probably know who he is or who he was, and probably was highly filled by his presence. You see, Billy Coward knew me really before I was born, to be perfectly honest with you. And he knew my family before I was born. He knew part of my family before I was born. He knew my mother. My mother, Barbara Williams, went to high school with Billy Coward at Dunbar High School. Then years later, and this time by the time I was born, Mr. Coward worked with my father, Russell Williams. And they coached together and taught together at Bell Vocational High School. Bell Vocational at that time, not what it is now, Bell Multicultural High School, but Bell Vocational High School. And they coached on the football team. And I believe they coached, no, I don't think they coached on the basketball team, but I know they coached on the football team. They taught together. And so he knew my father for many, many years. And he knew me literally all my life. I used to come up to Bell with my father and hang out with the football team and on the basketball team. And, Mr. Coward knew me from that time. And then Mr. Coward and I would be reunited at Howard University. I was a student there. He worked in the recreation department. And Mr. Coward would later go on to, he would be the kicking coach for the football team. And at that time, Howard University won 2 black national championships, one in 1993 and one in 1996. And he had some of the best kickers He had a dynamic duo in '93. He had Jason DeQueer, who was the place kicker, and Ruben Ruiz, who was the punter. And he worked with both of them. They were outstanding, all MEAC selections. So, and then in the early 2000s, he actually served as the interim men's basketball coach for Howard University. And he was just a remarkable man. Billy Coward listen to this now, Billy Coward spent 7 decades in the world of sports at some level. That includes, by the way, Mr. Coward being the bat boy for the Homestead Grays of the Negro Baseball League. He was the bat boy for the Negro League All-Stars when they played at Griffith Stadium here in Washington, D.C. Griffith Stadium is now where Howard University Hospital is standing. That's where Griffith Stadium was. And he was the bat boy for the Homestead Grays. That's how long his career in the world of sports. He wrote a book about it a few years ago. And when people think of Billy Coward, of course, I've known him so many years, but when people meet Billy Coward and they think of him, one word comes to mind. And I almost wrote this word when I wrote the notes for this podcast. I almost wrote it and I said, nah, I better not do that. The word is outstanding, because everybody that would meet or talk to Mr. Coward, that's what you would get from him. Hey, Mr. Coward, how you doing? Outstanding. You tell him what you were doing. He said, oh, outstanding. Yeah. When I got married, it was outstanding. Everything, that was his word. That was his catchphrase. Outstanding. And, he was an outstanding man. He really was. He was just a humble person, a very, very knowledgeable person, easy to talk to. He was very soft-spoken. He didn't yell, didn't scream or anything. He knew how to get his point across, but he did it in a very, very classy way. And again, and I've been so blessed to be around people like Mr. Coward and other people I could name. I won't do it right now, but to be around great people who have been a part of my life for literally all my life. And Billy Coward was that. There's going to be a celebration of life for Billy Coward on Saturday, October 9th. It'll be at Crampton Auditorium on the campus of Howard University. The visitation begins at 10 a.m. There'll be a celebration of life starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, the celebration of life is limited to 275 people, and masks must be worn. So I wish I could. I can't go, unfortunately. I have to work, but just a great man, no question about it. A man I always treasure. Billy Coward passed away this past week. Now, before he go, again, this podcast was a little late, and again, I'm going through, I won't say struggles, because not now anyway. I won't say struggles because things are coming around a little bit. When last time I talked to you, I wasn't down or anything, but I knew my life had changed. And as I record this today is my 58th birthday, October 4th, my 58th birthday. And getting through year 58 was a struggle. I won't deny that. I had a colonoscopy that thankfully turned out negative. I had gallbladder surgery, and they took my gallbladder. I had COVID along with members of my family. And I'm now working with my mother, who is living with me, and she is undergoing care here at my house. It's been a struggle, but truly, and I have to say it this way, through the grace of God, I got through it. And it has been one of the most challenging times of my life. But again, through the grace of God, I'm getting through it. Normally, around the time of my birthday, I have been, last few times, I won't say normally, but the last few times I've been jobless. I haven't had a job. I have one now. In fact, I just celebrated my second anniversary at that job. It doesn't pay the best, but it is one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had. For those who don't know, I'm a tour narrator at Arlington National Cemetery. And it's a job I absolutely love. I really, truly enjoy doing it. And I'm having a great time. I work with some wonderful people. And I can't complain. I can't complain about the fact that I'm back at Coppin State doing announcing again. I can't complain about that. And the times I do get a chance to do some boxing, I can't complain about that either. So really, I can't complain. And I'm very, very blessed to still be here. Still have my family intact. Still have the support of you all. And it's interesting. I haven't been doing a lot of podcasts, but yet there are more likes on my Facebook page. And people are enjoying the podcast that I have. And for that, I'm eternally grateful as well. So things have been tough. I won't say that. And things have been tough for everybody. This COVID pandemic has been tough enough as it is. And I know many of us have lost family members. We've lost friends through this pandemic. But, through the grace of God, I'm still here. And I'm still able to do what I like to do. And for that, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you all for supporting me, and backing what I do. And I can't thank you enough for what you all have done. So once again, things aren't where I want them to be, but they're a lot better than they could be. There's no question about that. So that'll do it for another edition of the Box on Beltway Podcast Network. Thank you all once again. Once again, Box on Beltway Podcast Network brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything between. Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. And always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world. The Boxing Along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.